This year's Sebring 12 Hour had some of the most exciting, intense, and dynamic prototype racing that I've ever seen. I'm sure that when IMSA and the ACO thought up these regulations, this is exactly the type of racing they were hoping that they would get. And that's because at different points in the race, different cars look strong. So in one stint, a car would be falling back through the pack with seemingly no pace. And then the very next stint, that same car will be fighting its way forward again. So in this video, I want to take you on board and show you how some of these strategies and some of these battles played out throughout this 12-hour race. We'll start here on board the 25 BMW with Connor DeFilippi as he's working his way through the GTD and LMP3 traffic and chasing down the two Porsche 963s and his teammate in the 24 BMW. And as he catches up to these two Porsches, I want to point out that it looks like the Porsches at this point in the stint are really struggling with rear tire wear. And that's partially because these new GTP regulations reduce the amount of downforce the cars have, increase their weight, and force the manufacturers to put all of the electric and internal combustion engine power through the rear wheels. So these rear tires are worked super hard. And on top of that, IMSA limited the teams to 11 sets of tires for the full 12-hour race. So the teams had to really strategize how and when they were going to change tires. And at different points during the race, teams would fall back or work their way forward based on what tires they were on. But as they make their way onto this back straight, we can see that Porsche is squirming as it tries to put the power down. The BMW has so much more grip coming out of the corner, can easily close that gap. But as we get halfway down the straight, the Porsche starts to pull away again. Looks like that Porsche might have a bit more straight line speed as the BMW just sends it on the outside of the corner, way more grip. But the Porsche is able to hold on. The BMW is not going to try anything crazy here. We're still less than 2 hours into the race. Still plenty of time to go. And to say nothing crazy, you can see them absolutely working their way through this traffic. It would definitely be crazy if I was on board, that's for sure. This LMP2 is going to leave a bit of room on the inside, but the BMW is not going to make it 3 wide this early on. And again, as they work their way through this GTD traffic, I want to show you how the BMW is just able to get off the corner so much better than the Porsches at this point in the stint. Even though the BMW is caught behind a GTD car, it still closes the gap to the Porsche coming out of the corner. And this makes me start to think that maybe the BMW is running a different setup philosophy. Maybe they're running a bit more rear end grip, a bit more wing, that's going to cost them in a straight line, but allow them to get out of the corners better and allow them to manage the tires better as well. So as the stint goes on, the BMW is going to get more and more of an advantage over this Porsche 963 ahead of it. Again, watch through this left-hander. The Porsche just cannot put the power down. Oh, the BMW is all over it. And as we go into this right-hander, Porsche is going to be squirming as it tries to put the power down on the exit. BMW, those rear tires are so much better right now. I've never seen anything like this in endurance racing before. Actual tire wear. For me, this is what endurance racing should be. Real tire strategy, real on-track battles where you're worried about tire wear. And again, as they go into this straight, the Porsche just cannot put the power down. Every single lap that goes by, it has less and less grip. The BMW is going to go to the inside and just kind of stalls out as it comes out of the Porsche's draft, but far enough alongside, sends it on the brakes, and now is able to start focusing on passing the next Porsche in front of it, the number 6 car. But again, it's going to be a struggle because of this lack of straight line speed that the BMW has. And as they're going into turn 1, you want to look to the outside of this corner here because there's an LMP2 rejoining. And do you think the Porsche sees it rejoining? Oh, I do not think so. But that's what you have to contend with here for 12 hours. That's the 12 hours of Sebring. It's about keeping the car in one piece, keeping it together while you're fighting, while you're battling. And that's what makes it so intense. That's what makes it so difficult. This Porsche, again, struggling on the corner exit just like his teammate was. But the BMW not quite able to take advantage because of the traffic. Maybe this car, the number 6 car, looks a little bit better coming out of the corners than the number 7 did, but still really struggling with that rear tire grip. I do wonder if the BMW isn't also set up with a downforce a bit more rearward as well. This would allow the car to have a bit more understeer on turn-in, a little more understeer through the mid-corner as well, but then allow the driver to get on power a bit earlier and just give the driver a bit more confidence as the tires start to wear out. Again, this is just a theory, but it does look like that from how he's driving, that the Porsche has to be super tentative on turning and through the mid-corner, whereas the BMW really isn't having that problem at all. But again, as soon as you get to the straights, that Porsche can just pull away. It's so hard for the BMW to make up that gap and to try to make this pass. But you just have to sit back and enjoy this, because this is the prototype racing that I've always wanted and always dreamed of. And we finally have it. Oh, as the BMW looks the inside of the Porsche going into turn one. Definitely not going to happen there, as the Porsche is squirming on the corner exit. You can see those rear tires are just so overworked right now. Absolutely no grip on the corner exit. The BMW is going to easily pull alongside, but it's going to stall out as it goes side by side with the Porsche. But the Porsche is not going to fight it. There is no hope for that Porsche anymore. Those tires are so gone. BMW easily makes it through. Is able to start building a gap now on these two Porsches. But as the stint goes on, we can see this prototype in front of the BMW. And it's struggling so much with tires. That is the 31 car. The 31 Wheel and Engineering Cadillac. And it's struggling so much with rear tires. Oh, can barely put the power down coming out of the corners. But again, in a straight line, it's able to pull away from the BMW. Which again leads me to believe this BMW may be running to balance a bit more rearward, a bit more rear end downforce. That Cadillac is just so tentative on the brakes. Oh, just can't get on the power coming out of the corner. But with that additional rear end downforce, the BMW just cannot catch up on the straights. So it makes an interesting dynamic of how do you pass a car, even if you're a lot faster than them, if they're faster in the straights. Oh, that Cadillac is sliding around. And then just cannot put the power down coming out of that left-hander. The BMW is going to try to go side by side, but this Cadillac has probably more top end than the Porsche as well, and just nothing the BMW can do. Easy defense for the Cadillac. BMW tries the over-under, needs to get a great exit out of here to make it into the next corner ahead of the Cadillac. On the outside, oh, side by side through this left-hander. Oh, the BMW gets a tank slapper, but is able to find its way through. Man, this is exciting racing. But just as it makes it through, we are into... Oh, almost hits that LMP3 car. The field is going to get all bunched up again, so all of that hard work for the 25 car has now been nullified. But we'll get a good chance to see a nice GTP pit stop here. The prototypes all pit together, so that's an LMP3 car in front of the GTP BMW. Gets a little bit tight here, just to squeeze in front of his teammate. They're going to opt to change all four tires. This will give him an advantage over actually the two Acuras in front, which don't take tires. Oops. This mechanic trips over the wheel gun there. The Acuras didn't take tires on this pit stop. So this will give the BMW a bit of an advantage over some of the cars in front. And this will give us also a good chance to hear the first all-electric start and then bump start of the engine. I do love that, though. I do love that. It's a bit weird, but I do love it. And actually, the 25 car was able to jump its teammate as well. So it started actually this stint. We started this video with BMW 8th and last in class. Now we're up to 4th. But something interesting is going to happen. BMW actually comes in and pits again during the same caution period. And it's going to do something which, again, I have another theory about. They're going to change the nose on this 25 car. And I think there's two reasons that they could be doing that. I'm going to pause it for a second and show you what I'm talking about here. So just there, you can see there's a wing actually in this nose. So they might be changing the downforce level and just tuning this car as the race goes on, trying to find the optimal setup towards the end of the race, kind of like what they do with the Indy 500. Or they could be changing cooling or something like that as well. But you'll see this happen a couple times during the race with the BMW team where they change the nose during the pit stop. I didn't hear much about it on the broadcast, but it has to be something with either the downforce level or with them trying to change the cooling level on the car as the day goes into night. But if you think, well, that sucks, now this BMW is going to be way behind everyone, IMSA has an interesting rule where the GTP cars, they're going to line up right behind the safety car. So he can pass he can pass all of these GT cars and the LMP2 and LMP3 cars. I don't know how I feel about it, but it sure is dramatic on board. So he's going to pass all the GTD cars, all of the LMP3, LMP2 cars, and just line up nicely behind these two Porsche 963s. And there we go. Back with the GTP cars. That nose change costed them nothing, really. So it's kind of a free pit stop. Lost about 4 places. All that hard work is gone. We're going to jump on board the number 7 car for this restart because the 2 Acuras ahead, as I said, they didn't change tires. And this can make a really interesting dynamic throughout this stint. We're going to see that 24 BMW try to make a pass already before the green flag. That 60 car is struggling with rear end grip, as we saw with the Porsches. But now the Porsches and the BMWs, they're on the fresh tires. They're going to be aggressive. As the driver in the number 7 car here tries to force it down the outside. That was ultra aggressive. But they need to try to make it past these 2 Acuras to extend the gap. Because right now, the Porsches, the BMWs, they have the advantage. They need to make the Acuras pay for the fact that they're on old tires. You can see already the BMW pressurizing this Acura, but doesn't have the straight line speed, can't make a pass. It was right up its bumper coming out of the corner, but just never was able to close the rest of that gap to make the passing to the braking zone. Same thing here, just not able to close that gap in a straight line. But as they get into the braking zone, a little lock up from the 60 car. I think anyone that was upset with them about the data manipulation at Daytona will be not too upset with the fact the 60 car falls all the way to the back of the pack. 25 car able to pass it as well. But I want to stop it here because we're going to fast forward about half an hour through the stint, and you can see that this Acura still has the train of 2 BMWs and 2 Porsches behind it. The 10 car has been able to hold them off this entire stint and really nullify the advantage of the new tires that the Porsches and the BMWs had. And that's also going to cause the Porsche and the BMWs start fighting a bit because this Acura is really a cork in the bottle and is absolutely driving this train. Porsche going to look down the outside of the BMW, but it's not going to happen there. And as they start to catch up from the GTD traffic here, BMW brakes in a straight line. We see some dust flap ahead of us. Car off the track. Absolute insanity. Just look at this. 5 cars, half an hour into a stint, all within, what, a second of each other? This Porsche locks up. BMW is going to just follow these 2 Porsches through. But that 6 car is not happy staying behind the 7 car. He's going to pop out, make a move on his teammate. And the 7 car is going to have to settle back, further position behind. All because this BMW cannot get past the Acura. That Acura is the Minister of Defense right now. But now things are starting to get really aggressive in the GTP class. As the stint goes on, these Porsches are getting more and more impatient. BMW is getting more and more impatient. And the Acura's tires are just falling off a cliff. I've never seen this before in prototype racing, but I absolutely love it. We can see the 7 car is aggressively inside of this GTD car, and the BMW GTP car tries to make his move, but there's just absolutely nowhere for this BMW to go. Porsche is really struggling now with its rear tires as the stint goes on. See that the BMW has the advantage now. There is not an inch of space between these 5 cars here. And they're going to sneak through the traffic. The 6 cars make contact with one of the GTD Acuras. Cuts down its tire. We can see it on board the 25 car. Bodywork flying into the windscreen. And that's an easy position gained for the 25 car. A tough go for the number 6 car. You can see here the 25 is now just pressurizing this number 7 car, which is struggling with its rear tires now. Over half an hour into the stint, this Porsche is not happy. But ahead, we can see the 24 finally makes it past the number 10 Acura, can finally take advantage of its new tires. Again, this Acura has spent 38 minutes holding these cars with fresher tires behind it. That is an amazing job by the 10 car. But the number 7 Porsche is going to quickly try to make its presence known, try to get by this Acura. as quickly as possible and start catching up to this 24 BMW. Onto the straight, we see that Acura just has no more traction. The Porsche can easily catch up. It has a straight line speed. It's going to pop here to try to make this pass. We see it on board the 25 car here. Again, easily able to get alongside. This BMW has a nice little draft and is going to send it on the inside of the 10 car as well. Finally, the 3 cars are clear and able to start trying to build up a gap to this 10 Acura. And as the stint goes on, again, this Porsche is struggling with its rear tires. We're going to see it here through turn 1, just sliding around ever so slightly. BMW not going to make that move, though. Still too early in the race to try an aggressive pass like that. But as the stint goes on, those Porsches just look worse and worse. The BMW looks better and better. But the BMW struggles to fire up its tires early on the stint, so they're always kind of on the back foot as these stints go on. As he fires it through the final corner here, he's going to peel off for a green flag pit stop. And the BMW now is going to take its medicine here. Not going to change tires, just an energy replenishment or refueling in old money. No driver change. It's going to be a long double stint. A lot of hard work ahead for Nick Yellowly because his tires will be absolutely gone as the stint goes on in this 25 BMW. And as the BMW rejoins the race on these really worn tires, I want to show you the Porsche's pit stop because they're going to run an interesting strategy. As we see the BMW just absolutely destroy its tires coming into the pits. This is the 24 car ahead of us, not the 25 car. The Porsche are going to run an interesting strategy because they're going to change only their left side tires. So this track, it's a clockwise track, so there are more right-handers than left-handers. So those left side tires get worked harder than the right side tires. So they're going to opt to just change the left side tires, whereas the BMW in front obviously didn't take any tires at all. This will give the Porsche the advantage this stint, but maybe later in the race, that'll give the BMW more tires to play with, and the BMW's a chance to be faster as the race goes on. But we'll jump back on board the 25 car as he's chasing down the 24, maybe because of that humongous lockup the 24 had coming into the pits. You can see here that 24 is definitely struggling with grip. The 25 looks a lot better. Nick Yellowly doing a great job here. But we'll flash back and see the 7 car is absolutely all over the BMW, which slides going to the corner, and then a big slide as he clips the inside there. The Porsche going to be on the outside now, hard on the power. You'll see the BMW on the exit, though, even with its worn tires, still able to be a bit better under acceleration than the Porsche, but the Porsche has the straight line speed, and it is able to actually fly by in a straight line, this 25 BMW, and able to make its way in front as they get into the braking zone for this hairpin. So now the Porsche will set its sights on the 24 BMW as the 25 is just in damage limitation. A bit of a squirm on the exit of the corner, and we'll see the number 6 car flash by now. It's crazy, that right-left sequence in that back straight. I call it a straightaway because we think of it as a straightaway, but they're not full throttle through there. And through here, you can just hear how tentative the 25 car is in the throttle. It's such a different game with these GTP cars as the 10 car, now on new tires, comes flashing back through on the 25 and is going to set its sights on the 2 Porsches ahead as the 7 car has its sights set on the 24, which catches that same piece of track that the 25 car caught, and the Porsche is easily able to make its way through and going to start trying to build a gap on the 10 Acura behind. But man, that Acura is coming quickly for the number 6 and the number 7 car. And we're going to jump on board and just see how big of an advantage these new tires are compared to the 6 car here. Again though, for this 10 car, no reason to be too aggressive trying to pass these Porsches. Just sit behind. You're still so early in the race, not even a third of the way through. It's that Porsche. I thought I was almost going to spin there. But as they go to accelerate out of the corner, the Porsche just doesn't go anywhere. Totally loses drive. And the Acura is easily able to sail through and set his sights on this Porsche in front of it. The Porsche actually had an issue there. Something happened with the car, and it had to come into the pits. It just had no drive coming off the corner. I think the cockpit filled with smoke as well, I heard in the broadcast. And then the number 7 car just puts up no defense and locks up. And now think back to how long the Acura was able to hold off the 4 cars behind it on those worn tires. And now it's able to easily sail through off into the distance on new tires. So that's really how the strategy can play out in this race. You think you're down and out at one point, and then the very next stint, because that Acura is able to hold off the Porsches and BMWs for so long, they can extend the gap. But again, this is IMSA racing. Extend the gap is all relative, because there's always going to be another caution. There's always going to be another pit stop, another chance to make up for lost time on track. So you just have to stay with it, stay in the fight. Don't hit that Porsche as you turn into your pit box. Another set of tires, another energy replenishment, not refueling, energy replenishment, and you're back on your way. And that's exactly what this BMW team did during this race. And through every restart, through every green flag lap, this 25 team was pushing it as much as they could, as we see the Cadillac go on their outside. Jeez, that is commitment from the 01 Cadillac. But it's endurance racing. You want to stay in it to win it. Unlike the Cadillac team we just saw flash by them on the restart, they were not in it to win it. They had an engine issue late on in the race with 3 hours to go. So painful. And according to Cadillac, this was not a fire. But you listen and you tell me what you think. Looks like a fire, sounds like a fire. I think the car caught on fire. And just look at that look of dejection on the driver's face. That's a tough day in the office. 3 hours to go. So fast. They had the race in their hands. But that's endurance racing. As I said, you got to stay in it to win it. If you're in the 25 BMW, you have the tire life. So maybe if this race goes green towards the end, you know what? Even if you don't have the single lap pace, you might have the pace over the course of the race. So just stay in it to win it. Keep pushing lap after lap. And you never know what can happen. But those of you that did see this race, or the highlights, will know that as the 2 Porsches and the 10 Acura were fighting for the win and slicing their way through this GTD traffic, something crazy did happen. And all 3 of the leaders got caught up in the same crash. And that pesky little 25 BMW was able to hold on and was basically guaranteed at this point in the race a second place finish. But to me, this is what endurance racing should be. Hard racing with strategy that's unpredictable. And man, I absolutely loved this race, and I loved these battles. I hope you guys loved this video as well. And I want to thank you so much if you made it this far. I really appreciate your guys' support and your guys' love. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this. Leave a comment if you enjoyed this type of racing too. And let me know if you like this style of video, because I'll be sure to make some more in the future if you do. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate the support. And I'll see you next time.